Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me. My name is Beatrice, and I'm going to be leading you through a foundations class. We've been focusing on different topics and different groups of poses. Today's practice, we're going to be focusing on seated poses and the use of props. I practiced for a very long time. I started off doing Ashtanga, and Ashtanga is a series of poses. Long story, you don't need to know all that. But basically, you're moving through a series of poses. There are zero props. So I practiced for many years without props, and I was kind of prop aversive. And then I started changing up what I was doing and practicing different styles, and now I love props. Props are great. So we're going to spend a few minutes talking about props. I promise we will get to movement. I'm not going to talk forever. But especially in this day and age, you may be practicing at home. You may be thinking about investing in some props. So I'm going to talk about props briefly and what you can use at home. You do not need to buy props in order to do yoga or to do styles of yoga that use more props, like yin or restorative. You probably have stuff at home that you can use. So the first thing I'm going to talk about, this is a yoga strap. This kind of helps you with reaching stuff that's harder to reach. You can use it for other stuff too, but that's just basically it. If you do not have a yoga strap, this looks exactly like a belt. So you can use a belt. I've found that on a robe, the tie that goes around the robe works really nicely. If you're thinking about investing in a strap, I tend to like the ones, I'll come a little closer. I tend to like the ones that have the smaller clasp. There are other ones that have like a big plastic clasp to click in. And I find that the plastic piece is a little clunky. So for example, if you're like putting this around your foot or actually using the clasp to tie it through, once you tighten it, whatever's there is gonna maybe press into you. And those big plastic ties I don't prefer, but some people love them. So, you know, to each his own. These are yoga blocks. There are different kinds of blocks. There are these foamy kind of blocks. As you can see, they're not the most durable, especially when a 4-year-old gets to them and starts poking at them. But these have worked for me. They're nice and light. They're not that expensive. These are Gaiam blocks. So there's these kind of foamy blocks. There's cork blocks. Cork blocks you'll usually find in a hot yoga studio because the cork tends to, since you're super hot and sweaty, the cork tends to kind of absorb a little bit of the moisture. So they're not as slippery. I've never had a problem with slipping on these, but I don't do, like 110-degree yoga at my house or ever usually. So these for home practice have worked fine. There's also wooden blocks. They are heavier, they're more stable, so you get like a firmer support when you're using them if you're putting your body weight on them. These, especially if you're using them at the higher setting, they can get a little flim-flammy. The wooden ones are, like I said, much more stable. However, you do use the blocks sometimes overhead, or between your knees. So the wooden blocks are way heavier than this. So this is like doing just this is gonna be way more effort. So these are kind of my go-to, and they're probably the most popular that I've seen in yoga studios. Then there is blankets. Do you need, I don't know, my husband said, who decided that these Mexican blankets are going to be yoga blankets? I don't know, because yoga did not originate in Mexico. But these blankets are lovely. If you want to buy them. If you don't, I'm sure have some throw blankets that you can use at home that are perfectly fine. If you don't, beach towels work really well. They seem to be exactly the right size. And so you can use these as different supports. In our practice today, I'm going to show you different ways to use the blankets. There are also bolsters. I brought my own props because of, germs. So I'm sticking to my own stuff, which people may prefer to do once we start practicing in studios again. Bolsters are kind of like those heavy cushions. You can use at home bed pillows. I've found that 2 like firmer bed pillows stacked on top of each other are pretty much the same as a bolster. Or 1, it depends on what you're doing. You can also use one of these blankets and kind of do some fancy folding like this. And then ta-da, you have like a really thin bolster. And then you just use 2 blankets and then you have a higher bolster. I do have a bolster at home. I like my bolster. It is more of an investment, I think. Just be careful what type of bolster you use. Like I tend to like the ones that are not so tall. The ones that are really poofy just don't really work for me. There's certain brands, Manduka has one that's like a nice, like flatter one. That's not like too poofy. The other ones kind of hurt my back. Anyway, all right, so we're gonna review what you need to gather. You may need to hit pause after this and go gather what you need. So, and if you don't have, just pretend and go with the flow. It's yoga, it's fine, everything's cool. So, a strap or a belt or like the tie on a robe, if you have it. Blocks, if you don't have blocks, you can use boxes that are about the same size, or you can use books that are about the same size. I really, I'm gonna keep saying it until somebody makes these. I really want someone to make blocks that look like a dictionary and a thesaurus. If anybody remembers those when they were like in paper and not on your computer. I would buy them because, I don't know, I'm old and I'm a nerd. Maybe it'll be hip and retro, I don't know. Anyway, and blankets if you have them, just regular old throw blankets that you have laying around the house is fine, or beach towels or regular towels are fine. And if you have, I don't have my bolster, but I will improvise, you can do that too. But if you have 2 bed pillows, on the firmer side, that would be awesome. So we're going to be moving at a bit of a slower pace today. I wanted you to get the feel of maybe, a lot of classes are vinyasa classes, flow classes. That's kind of what the other classes have been the flavor of that we've done. This class is going to lean more towards like a yin or a restorative practice. So in yin, you're holding poses for sometimes like 3 to 5 minutes. A restorative class, you could hold a pose for 20 minutes. Sometimes a whole class is just 4 poses. It has a totally different feel. When you are holding poses longer, it does tend to bring stuff up as you're holding them. And sometimes the stuff can be physical and sometimes the stuff can be emotional. So just do what feels right for you today at this moment, what feels right in your body, what feels right for you emotionally. You may notice that some feelings come up. If they're great feelings or great memories, great. If it's sometimes, I personally have also noticed that I get like a little annoyed, a little irritated. Sometimes I'm like annoyed at the teacher as to why we're holding the pose for so long, but just, it's fine if that happens. I won't take it personally. But just see if you can sit with it and breathe through it. One of the lessons of yoga is just feeling intense feelings, feeling uncomfortable feelings, and we see if we can just kind of hang out with it and breathe through it and see what happens. And sometimes it may dissipate with our breathing, and sometimes we may decide this is enough for now and we need to back off, and that's okay. That's just part of taking care of yourself. So do what feels right for you. Don't do anything that doesn't feel right for you. Yes, hit pause if you need to get your stuff. Yeah, I think we're good to go. So thanks for hanging out for my chat. So we are going to start laying on our backs, and you are gonna bring your strap with you. Just have it handy. Lay flat on your back, feet stretched out, hip distance apart. Let your feet flap open. Bring your hands alongside your body. We're actually going to start in Shavasana. We will also end in Shavasana. Just lay flat on the ground. Feel the earth supporting you. Just take a moment to breathe. Take a nice big inhale and sigh it out, exhale. Take another big inhale. Sigh everything out, exhale. Let go of anything that doesn't serve you. Inhale and exhale. Take a few moments to reconnect. Bring your breath back to neutral. And set an intention for your practice today. Be present in the moment. Come back to the breath. If your mind starts to wander, if you start thinking about other things, just refocus on your breath. Inhale, bring your arms up overhead. Take a nice full body stretch in opposite directions. Fingers and toes move away from each other. And exhale. Bend your knees. Arms come back down by your sides. Bend both knees. Bring the strap. Oh, sorry, that was loud. Bring the strap into one hand. Bring that right toes towards you. Strap goes along the ball of the foot. And slowly reach that foot high to the sky. I'm going to even out my strap. And gently pull that leg towards you. Take a breath here. Inhale, you can extend that bottom leg for a deeper stretch. Inhale and exhale. Bring both sides of the strap into your right hand and bring your left arm out to a T. Slowly bring that right leg out to the right, any amount. Bottom leg stays strong. Bottom, the foot on the, oh my goodness. The foot that it does not have the strap on it, the toes point straight up to the sky, and that's your anchor. Your left hip moves towards the ground. You can keep your hand on there. Try not to tip over to the right. Slowly bring that leg back up. Switch the straps into that left hand. Right arm comes out to a T. And bring that leg over to the left any amount. And breathe. If you want to deepen the twist, you can look over to the right. Turn your head towards the right. Inhale, bring that leg back up. Remove the strap, bend that bottom leg, bring that right ankle just above your left knee. You can stay here. If you want to deepen the stretch, you can bring your hands behind that left thigh, or if you want to deepen either further, you can bring those hands around that left shin. Move those legs in towards you. Your right knee moves away from you. You can use your elbow to kind of help you. Just breathe. When you're ready, bring that left foot down, bring the right foot down to meet it, knees up high to the sky. You can wiggle your feet out as wide as your mat and just windshield wipe your legs back and forth a few times. We're gonna do the other side. So feet hips distance apart. Strap goes around the left ball of your foot. Lengthen that left leg out to the sky. You can pull it towards you slightly, or a little more than slightly. You can keep a micro bend in that straight knee. In that what? In that leg that's straight, you can keep a micro bend in the knee. If you'd like to increase the sensation, you can lengthen that right leg out long, toes point to the sky. Take a couple breaths here. Each side is probably going to feel slightly different, and that is okay. Bring both straps into your left hand. Right arm comes out to a T. Left foot comes out to the left. Left leg comes out to the left. Just breathe. Keep that right leg as your anchor, rooted firmly into the ground. Keep that right hip rooted into the earth. Bring that left leg back up. Switch the hold on your strap and And bring that leg across the body over to the right. Left arm is out to a T, and if you want to increase the stretch, you can look over towards the left. Inhale, bring that leg back up. Exhale, remove the strap. Bend that bottom leg. Left ankle goes somewhere above that right knee. You can stay here. Grab hold behind the right thigh or in front of the right shin. Moving that left knee away from your body. And breathe. When you're ready, bring both feet flat on the ground. Wiggle those feet out to the sides of the mat. Windshield wiper those legs back and forth. Inhale, bring your knees into your chest. Then you can roll back and forth a few times. That never feels good for my back, so I'm gonna skip it, but especially on a hard floor, but if that feels good for you, go for it. And then you're eventually going to roll over your legs and come into cat-cow. So shoulders over your wrists, hips over your knees, legs hip distance apart. Let's take a few cat-cows. Inhale, look up high to the sky, drop that belly. Exhale, round it in. Inhale. Look up, drop the belly down to the ground. Exhale, curl it in, gazes towards the navel, stretch through the back body. Inhale, look up, and exhale, around. One more time, inhale, look up, and exhale, round it in. Sorry, come to neutral spine. Tuck the toes and push those hips up to downward facing dog. Just breathe here. Your heels are moving towards the floor, hips high to the sky. Flatten those palms out onto the ground. Let your head hang. Gaze is between your shins. Inhale, bring that right foot forward. Drop that back knee. Bring a block with you. Bring it onto the inside of that front foot. You can wiggle your right toes towards further out to the side of the mat. Untuck your toes, come down onto that knee, and bring your hips forward. This is lizard pose. You can stay here, or you can come down onto the elbows. And just breathe here. Take a few breaths. Inhale, move those hips back. Bring your block with you. If you have 2 blocks, you can have one on either side of your leg. Bring those front toes towards the sky. You can move your leg a little bit more towards center. And just bring those hips back for a nice runner stretch. And breathe. Inhale, come on up. Bring your foot towards the left side of the mat now. Drop that leg down. Maybe your front shin is parallel to the front of the mat. Maybe that foot comes in closer to your hip. And settle down into a pigeon pose. In pigeon pose, there is this tendency to roll from here, roll onto the right side. If you're finding yourself rolling onto the right side, you can use a blanket or a towel and just, or even maybe even a block, and just shove it under that hip so you're not rolling onto it. So your hips stay square. You can stay here. You can use a block for your forearms. And just breathe here. Our hips aren't that open just yet, so maybe this isn't your most intense pigeon. Just be where you're at and find a place that you can hang out for a while. When we do more active, like vinyasa type classes, we're putting much more effort into our poses. When we're doing a more yin or restorative class, we're closer to maybe like 50-60% effort as opposed to maybe 80% effort. So find a place that you can hang out for a while and just breathe. If you have sensitive knees, you can use the blanket underneath your knees. That's always a nice way to support your knees. Try to find a place where you're feeling kind of comfortable to hang out for a while. My knees feeling kind of smashed, so I'm going to tuck my toes. That seems to help me. Inhale, come on back up. Exhale, hands come down. Tuck the back toes and come back, push back into down dog and just release that leg. Pedal it out a little bit. And we're gonna come do the other side. So inhale, look forward, bring that right foot up. You can bring it in between the hands. You can actually even bring it outside of that left hand. Left foot comes out. Drop that back knee, untuck the back toes. Again, you can have a blanket underneath that knee if that feels better for you. You can stay here. You can use the block on any height. So this is the tallest, this is medium, this is lowest. So just be where you're at, wherever feels good for you. You can start on a higher setting, and then as you breathe into it, you may be able to move towards a lower setting. If you want to come down onto your forearms, you can. Again, each side will feel slightly different. Our bodies are not entirely symmetrical. And we don't always use our bodies in exactly a symmetrical way. So one side tends to feel different than the other, and that is totally normal. If whatever you're feeling is too intense, you can slightly back off. If you are ready for a little bit more sensation, you can deepen the pose any amount. When you're ready to come up, you can bring the props with you, straighten that front leg, move it a little bit closer towards the center of your mat, bring those hips back towards your heel for a runner stretch. We're working on opening the hips quite a bit, and our hips really store a lot of tension and a lot of emotion. So just see if you can stick with it and breathe. Inhale, come back forward with your hips. Wiggle that foot all the way to the right and bring that knee down. Maybe your shin is parallel to the front of the mat, maybe not. I think you can see what I was talking about with the prop a little bit better on this side. So there is the tendency in pigeon to kind of roll onto this hip, which you don't want to happen. So you can kind of shove a blanket underneath there or a block just to keep those hips squared off and level to the ground. You can be as high as you need. Just shove. Inhale here and exhale, come forward any amount. If your mind is starting to wander, just come back to the breath, come back to your intention, come back to the body. Inhale when you're ready. You can move your props out of the way. Plant those hands, tuck the toes, bring that knee up to and push back into downward dog and just stretch that out. Walk your feet to your hands and your hands to your feet. You can use blocks here to put your hands on and come up with a flat back. You can totally hang if you want and just grab opposite elbows and just hang and release. Release in the legs and in the lower back. All right, from here we're going to come into a malasana. Even if you're used to malasana, it might be nice to try it out with some of the props. So you're going to, malasana is like a deep squat if you don't remember. If your heels do not touch the ground, even if they do, you can roll a blanket underneath so your feet have some contact with something. And then you can bring something underneath your bottom. So even if you can do malasana without the props, try it with the props maybe today and see how it feels differently. I'm gonna turn around. Your knees come out wide. There we go, heels on here. Sit nice and tall. Spine should be moving up straight out of the crown of your head. Your feet can come out wide, your knees can come out wide, your hands can come into prayer, and your elbows press into those knees. And with the props, you may be able to stay a little bit longer. So just breathe. Try to sit up nice and tall. You can use 2 blocks under your seat if you need. That's totally fine. We're not holding poses as long as we would in a yin class, but when you start practicing yin or practice restorative, you do need to kind of work up to having a stamina of holding poses for extended amounts of time. It tends to be a little bit much and overwhelming at first. So stick with it if you can. If it's too much, try to not totally give up and slowly back out of the intensity while still maintaining part of the integrity of the pose, unless it totally does not feel good for you. And then please take a break. Join us when you can. All right. So now we're going to come on up. Let's remove any props that we have and just straighten out the legs and just release them side to side. We're going to come to sit on our bottoms, legs stretched out in front. Bring that right foot. We'll have a couple options here. Yogi's choice. That foot, you can bend that foot in on the inside of that left leg. You can bring that foot across on the other side of the leg. Another option is to bend that bottom leg in. So wherever you are at is fine. This is fine, this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. Wherever you are at, right hand comes behind you, left arm reaches high to the sky, twist over to the right. Hug that right knee in. Again, if you need to sit on a cushion or a blanket or a block, that is fine. Do not pretzel this bottom leg in if you're feeling like this is way too much and you're losing the integrity of the pose. If you're here, this is better than trying to pretzel your way in and falling over and having your hips kind of bobble all over the place. So just be where you're at. You can even do this up on a block. Okay? So find what pose feels right for you and just stick with it and breathe. And again, we're going to stay here for maybe a little bit longer than what you're used to. So moving into the most intense version of your pose might not be the best option for you. You may want to back it off a little bit today, just so you can hang out and stick with it a little bit longer. When we practice yin especially, yin is really great for all of the connective tissues and the ligaments and the fascia. So we're really looking at more of connective tissue healing as opposed to using muscles. When you're ready, come forward. Bring that bottom leg out if it's not already out, and bring that foot in. So you're kind of, you can be at a geometry, 90-degree angle. You can be a little bit wider, whatever works for you. Either way, twist over that left leg, and you can use blocks if you'd like to on either side of the foot. You can also, oh yeah, we have straps. You can also wrap that around your left toes. Just make sure you're rotating to face that left leg. Bring your belly button towards it and fold forward. Inhale, come on up. If you have pillows or a bolster, lay them on top of this leg. You can bring that leg out so you're a little bit wider than 90 degrees. You can fold your blankets to like make your own bolster, lay it along the side. Bring that left arm straight down towards your toes, bend at the elbow, rest your head. Your stack shoulder on top of shoulder, your right hand can stay down or it can come up overhead. You should feel a nice stretch on your right side. Again, come back to your breath if you feel you start noticing your mind wander. No judgment, just notice when it happens and just come back to the here and now. Inhale, come on up. All right, move the props. Bring your feet out in front, windshield wiper a little bit. Bring those legs out in front. And you're gonna bring that left knee up. You can either stay here, cross over, or bend that bottom leg. Again, try to stay stable in your seat. Choose the version where you're feeling the most stability and where you're doing the pose with the most integrity. It might be different than the other side, especially if you've had an injury. So stay where you're at. Here, here, or here. Left leg comes behind. Left hand comes behind. Right arm reaches high to the sky. And then twist and hug that left knee, looking back past your left shoulder. And breathe. Sit up nice and tall. Your head can remain neutral. You don't need to look past that shoulder if that starts bothering your neck. When you're ready, unwind, no pun intended. Come back to center, uncross those legs, bend that left foot. Right leg comes out long. You're at about a 90-degree angle. You have a strap, you can wrap it around the ball of that right foot. Turn so your navel is facing that leg and slowly fold forward. If you're seated on a block, you can stay on the block. Inhale, come on up. Now you may want to bring that leg out a little bit wider, and then we're going to bring our pillows, our blankets, all our bolster along that right leg. Right arm slides down towards the toes, bend at the elbow, prop your head up. Left hand can stay down or reach overhead and behind the head. When you're ready, come on up. Move your props. Bring your legs forward. Just windshield wiper side to side. We're going to come into a forward fold since we have so many lovely props. Try what feels better for you. You can bring your seat up with your legs out in front and fold this way, or want to try something that maybe I haven't tried, you can bring some sort of cushioning, a bolster, blankets underneath your knees. You can bring more than one to bring your thighs closer to your chest. So you might want to try this out instead. So move your cushions off your couch, legs out nice and wide, arms up overhead, and just fall forward and bend and relax onto those thighs. It should be easier to get your chest onto your thighs this way. You can also bring either like a pillow here for your head. You could do this. You could find another pillow. Some support for your head feels really nice and relaxing. So just be here and breathe. See if you can inhale, lengthen out a little bit longer, and then come back down. See if you can stretch a little bit deeper. Inhale, roll up one vertebrae at a time. Bring those props out from under your knees and roll onto your back. And bring a block with you. All right, so you can bring a block. You can have like rolled up blankets if you want. I'm gonna move these out of the way so you could see. We're gonna come into a supported bridge. So plant those feet, lift the hips, bring either a bolster or a block underneath those hips and find the sweet spot. You might have to adjust it up or down. Make sure your hips are level on there and just leave your hips on and just breathe here. You may want to bring it up maybe to the second height. That might be too much though. We haven't done a huge amount of back bending today, but that might feel good. I think the highest setting today might be much, but you decide where you want to be. I'm actually going to move mine down just so I can hang out and have a little more stability. Just breathe here. If you want to increase the stretch, you can bring your arms up overhead. You can also lengthen one leg at a time. And get a nice stretch through the front body and through the front of the hips. And just wherever you settle into, just hang out and breathe. Inhale, bring those legs back up if you have them out. Bring the arms back down by your sides. Inhale, bring the seat up and come back. Come back to earth. Come back down on the ground. Just wiggle out the hips. You can bend your knees in, rock side to side. All right, we're going to come into one of my favorites, Supta Baddha Konasana. So if you have a bolster or pillows or rolled up blankets, you'll need those here. You'll need some support for your legs. So you're going to sit up nice and tall. Let's start there, feet planted on the ground. You're going to bring a stack of blankets or your pillows or your bolster right up to your bottom. Bring your feet into butterfly. And this time you're going to want some sort of props to hold your legs up. So you're not using any muscles, no effort to hold your legs up. So wherever they land, make sure there's a prop underneath. If you're using like pillows and a bolster here, you could use blankets instead under here. Just work with what you got. You can also have, if you have an extra blanket, you can also like roll it. Oh, that's not really how I want it, but you can roll it long ways and tuck it under this way to hold your legs up. So play around, see what works for you, and then I'll show you what we'll get into. Again, feet into butterfly. They could be further away from your hips. Props under your knees. You're gonna come onto your hands, roll on back onto your elbows, and then slowly relax. You may need to pick up your hips and untuck your hips a little bit so you don't feel any pressure in your lower back. If you're still feeling pressure in your lower back, you can do this with knees up to the sky. So just hang out here and breathe. If you're feeling like your neck is rolling too far back, you can put a pillow underneath your head, or like roll up a blanket like that underneath your head. But wherever you are at, just chill and hang out and make sure you're not making any effort. You're just kind of plopped on there onto all those props. So find what's right for you. Get comfy. This is one of my favorite poses. Sometimes when I don't have time to practice, I just do this for like 20 minutes and just hang out and breathe. And notice where there's tension, notice where there's gripping, notice where there's holding on, and just let go and see what happens. Just release and relax. So if this feels great for you, this can be your Shavasana. If this is not feeling great for you, whenever you're ready, you can remove the props under your knees, roll onto one side, remove whatever's behind your back, and then just lay down flat. So you decide. If you want to stay in Supta Baddha Konasana, please, you're more than welcome to. It's a great pose. If that's not feeling great, you can roll onto one side, move everything out of the way, come lay flat on your back. You may enjoy a bolster or a blanket just underneath your knees and laying flat with some support under your knees or under your knees and ankles. Just find what feels best for you today and just hang out and breathe and melt and let go. If you're happy where you're at, feel free to stay as long as you like. That's one of the advantages of a home practice. You can just hang out in Shavasana as long as you would like. It does take some practice to get comfortable with just being in stillness. But no judgment for where you're at today. If you're feeling ready to come out of it, slowly deepen your breath, roll onto one side, and come to seated at your own time. Follow your intuition. Your body will tell you what it needs. Thank you for joining me today. Namaste.